I call it the smell of money. I learned that years ago. I've been buying, flipping, selling. I've helped thousands of people for decades in real estate. I share that with you so you can have the confidence knowing that what you learn from me in these videos is from actual real life hands-on experience. I'm going to show you in this video as we walk through this house. It's $116,000, how to find them, how to flip them, how to sell them, and most importantly, the mistakes that people make when it comes to buying foreclosures. Let's jump in. Now, the first thing you'll want to do is make sure you subscribe to a website that gives you all of the foreclosures. There is a cost for this, but it's findmyforeclosure.com. When you go to findmyforeclosure.com, it's going to give you access to every foreclosure, every city, county, state, all around the country, even land. It's also a good idea to kind of check around, call real estate agents and ask those agents, who are the foreclosure agents? Because there's typically only 5 or 6 agents in your metropolitan area that work those foreclosures. And when you find out their names, you can let them know you're a cash buyer and you can purchase the homes that they're about to list. Now, if you don't have cash, there's a couple of ways to go about getting money to purchase foreclosures. One, go to your credit unions and local banks. Most of the time, you're going to have a 620 or higher credit score, show proof of income, and proof that you can repay. Now, they're going to give you a loan based on that home. They're going to put a lien on it, and they're going to give you a temporary short-term mortgage. Another way to go about getting money is to go to hard money lenders. You see, hard money lenders can be expensive. However, I always tell people it's not so much the cost of the money, it's the availability of the money, because it gives you the means of which you can have cash to purchase a property, close on it quick, and when you can cash and close quick, you'll get a good deal every time. Now, another way to get money is if you have a current home and have equity in your home, you can get what they call a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. When you get a home equity line of credit, you're using your current home as collateral to have cash available. They'll close on that. Once you have it closed, you have cash, like cash in the bank. Now, another means to find these properties, and I always tell people, you want to join your local real estate investors club. Just about every city, state, community has a local real estate investors club, because you may be buying a piece of property and they're hard to find, right? But not so much anymore with findmyforeclosure.com. Once you find them and you have cash, you can make an offer. Just because you buy a house, you found it, you had cash, you made the offer, doesn't mean you got to fix it up. You have to consider this. When you join real estate investors groups, you're going to meet other investors. Oftentimes, you can make money just finding these houses and buying them and then flipping them to an investor without ever turning a screw, without ever doing any improvement to the property. Now, something else that a lot of people overlook is land. They think, well, what would I want with land? I don't want land. I'm just buying and flipping houses. I'm making improvements to them. I'm putting renters in them. I just want to deal with houses. But you gotta understand, there are people that don't pay their taxes, and their taxes may be $300 or $400 a year. And yes, go to findmyforeclosure.com, you're going to see those properties, because they have bankruptcy sales, they have tax sales, they also have just regular bank foreclosures. You never know when you're going to come across a piece of land that's in that foreclosure list, and they may be asking only $12,000 for it. It's a half-acre lot. You can purchase it for $10,000 or $12,000 cash, close in 2 weeks, and turn around and flip it and make $10,000. And if you're like me, that's a pretty good deal. But listen, what I always tell people is don't try to knock somebody's head off and make a home run on every deal. You have to understand there's no college, university that you can go to where you can turn around and buy a piece of property and learn every single detail of how to flip it, how to make money, how to communicate, how to deal with contractors, what it's going to cost, none of that. So once you buy your first house and you improve and sell it and flip it, if you don't make any money, you're ahead of the game, because what you just learned, you'll never lose it. And the fact that you'll never lose it's going to give you an upside when it comes to negotiating with subcontractors. Negotiate everything. Another good rule of thumb when dealing with subcontractors is you'll always want to tell them that you will pay them the minute the job is complete. Subcontractors so oftentimes have to chase money. They have to chase their bills out there, and people aren't paying them. What you can do to make them get on your job first and work and finish it the fastest is to tell them, as soon as you're finished, I need you to call me. I'll meet you at the house and get you paid in full. Now, you have to understand, when you sell and flip a property and you make money, that's earned income. One of the best ways to save on your taxes, and I'm not a CPA, but I've learned the hard way, is to start an LLC. It'll cost you about $400. You can actually do it online. You can register with your Secretary of State's office in your local state. But by registering and having it under an LLC, it can save you substantially. That way, you can still work a full-time job, and your goal may be to quit your full-time job, but you have a separate LLC which is an individual corporation for you that protects your interest in that company. Now, another way to protect your interest in that company and just protect interest in general is an insurance policy. You can get an insurance policy that covers that LLC, that covers you in your name, and that insurance policy is an umbrella policy. That way, if anybody gets hurt, anybody gets damaged, anything gets dismembered, displaced, whatever it may be, even if it's a neighbor's house that a subcontractor does, you're covered. It's not that expensive, but it's one of those deals where with insurance, you don't need it until you need it. And look, it's also really important to understand that you can purchase homes, foreclosures. This one's in pretty rough shape, but you can purchase foreclosures that are in pretty good condition if you want to use them as your personal residence and use a USDA loan. You can use a United States Department of Agriculture loan, and that allows you to purchase a house, and it doesn't cost you money out of pocket. Like literally, these are zero down loans, but you have to show proof that 620 higher credit score, 2 years on the job, and you're going to have to sign an affidavit that you're going to live in the home. It's going to be your personal residence. Now, something that's really important to know is you don't have to have a real estate agent to purchase a foreclosure. You can go straight to the listing agent if that's what you want to do. However, having an agent work for you on your behalf kind of puts you ahead of the game a little bit, because you now have an agent and you can tell that agent what you're looking for. They can set you up on an automatic search for properties just like the one I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to show you around here in just a little bit. This home is $116,000, 2,000 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. It needs floor paint. I don't even know if the roof needs to be replaced. Let's take a look. Now, one of the things I always tell people to look for when you're walking through a foreclosure like this one is two big ones, right? One is mold, because it's expensive to remediate mold, and you don't know how far it's traveled. You may not be able to smell it, but you got to look for roof leaks, such as that. That's probably a roof leak. And then you also have to look in cracks and crevices like this and in the corners. Now, typically where there's moisture, there's termites, and that is actual termites. So that's damage where literally they've eaten all of that. You can't pull out this wall. You can't do any of that when it comes to a foreclosure. It is as is where it is. You can, however, do an inspection, and it's important to know that you can do an inspection. Typically, it's going to run you $400 to $500, and it'll give you peace of mind. Now, if you don't like what you see on the inspection, 99% of the time, the banks will give you that 7 to 14 day due diligence period once you've accepted a contract to purchase the property. At which time, if you don't like what you see on the inspection, you can simply cancel the contract and have your deposit check returned to you. Now, those are the negatives. You also have to ask, has the home ever flooded? Is it in a flood zone? That's when a good real estate agent comes into play. I can't tell you how many times people buy land, they'll build a house, and I'll say, what flood zone is it in? They're like, hell, I don't know. That can make or break you on the resale. If you're in A or B, those are a little bit more prominent, especially A, and it's going to cost you 4 times as much for flood insurance than if you're in flood zone C. If you're in flood zone C, that home, that land may not have flooded in 100 years. A good way to know and to find out is to get out and talk to the neighbors. Ask the neighbors, has this area ever flooded? What do you think about the neighborhood? Even if you're going to buy the house to flip it, that's good to know, not just for the flood zone, but what about the neighborhood? What about the school district? Are there kids in the area? And always start with the outside of the house, and let me show you why. You see, flipping a house, time is money, right? And when you're flipping a home, you want to start with the outside. And the reason being is, see how this home looks? That's the fascia board. It faces you, it's fascia board, right? You want to replace all that. You also have the soffits. You see where it's rotten. You also want to put in landscaping. Always put in landscaping. Cut the grass, clear out the weeds, pressure wash, paint. Here's why you do the outside first. Then you can put a sign in the yard, and you can tell people what improvements you're going to make on the property. Once you start that, you can promote the property. You can post it on Zillow, you can post it on Facebook Marketplace, and you can, most importantly, have your real estate agent put it on the market for sale. Now, just like looking for negative parts in a home, you also want to look at the positive parts. This house, it has brand new windows. You want to look for roof, you want to look for windows, you want to look for roof. Oftentimes, I've seen a home that's 3 or 4 years old, and the people have went through a divorce, and through going through a divorce, the home gets foreclosed on because she says, I'm not paying, he says he's not paying, and they split, and then the house gets taken back by the bank. If the roof was replaced because a storm came through 3 or 4 years prior, you get a home with a new roof. This home has brand new windows. It's an open floor plan, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's an all siding house, a little brick on the front. But this home right here would turn around and sell for about $190,000. The list price is $116,000. However, you cannot get crazy when it comes to making improvements on the property. And here's what I mean. If you get absolutely crazy making improvements and you over improve the property, you will reach a point of diminishing return. That means what you're putting into the property, you're not going to get back. You can't purchase a house that's $116,000 in a neighborhood where they're selling between $190 and $225 and put in $500 light fixtures. You just have to be with the basics. But you can't be so cheap, because you have to understand there's small subtle things like light fixtures and faucets and flooring and paint color. That's the icing on the cake. You can have the best tasting cake, but if you don't have good icing, no one's ever going to touch it. So look, you can't be afraid to get out there. You can dig up a little bit of cash, you can buy these foreclosures, and even if you just break even, you're still going to learn a whole lot. Until next time, I'm Wayne Turner. Give us a thumbs up if you like these videos, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, ask us questions, and let me know if there's anything else you want to know about real estate.